All right. Let me close on a word of hope. All right? The wounds you have received didn't come overnight. All right? Maybe you had something traumatic happen to you, but it was an accumulating effect, right? Freedom from this stuff is not going to come overnight either. See, what happens is we turn to porn because we want a quick fix, right? And then when we're hooked on porn, we want a quick fix. We want a pornified solution to our pornography problem. What's the prayer? What prayer do I have to pray? What's the thing? What's the medal I have to wear? Shh, stop it. It's a daily choice. It's a daily battle. But here's something kind of cool. This is a great opportunity to grow in holiness. Here's why. Struggling with porn is a good thing. We often think that struggle is synonymous with give in to. Someone says to us, I've been struggling with porn, and we think they mean, I've been looking at it. And that is what they mean. But that's not what struggle means, right? Struggle means to violently resist. And if we violently resist against porn, we're going to grow in virtue. So with that definition in play, I hope you won't be offended if I say to you, if you're tempted to look at porn, I hope you're struggling with it. The alternative is just give in. And as we violently resist to be better people, to break free of this stuff, it's not as if the virtue of chastity rises, while the rest of the virtues lay dormant. If you imagine, this is a bar graph, by the way. It's like he's caressing I don't know what that is, right? It's like all these virtues begin to rate. I mean, think about it. What is required of the woman who struggles against porn? Patience, perseverance, self-mastery, moral courage. She is becoming a more interesting person. Because people who are virtuous are more interesting. The saints are more interesting than sinners, right? And so to grow in virtue is to grow in sanctity. Therefore, you and I have a gift that Padre Pio didn't, that Thérèse of Lisieux didn't. Did sexual temptation always exist? Yes. But not in this immediate, ubiquitous, anonymous sense as it does today. We have an opportunity. We show people we love them by preferring them to things. What a beautiful honor we have to be able to prefer Christ to this sin. You know, I remember when I was going to confession one time, for the umpteenth millionth time to confess porn and masturbation. I'm standing there in line. I'm thinking, God's mercy is evaporating on me. It's like he's like going to be the suit Nazi from Seinfeld. No more mercy for you! You know? Go home and look that up, yeah. You know, we stand there and we say to ourselves, would God forgive the biggest sinner? Yes. But what about me, we think to ourselves, who come back week after week with this stuff? And we know in our heads that that can't be true, but in our hearts we fear that it will. But as I was waiting there, I remember, maybe the Holy Spirit brought it to mind, that scene from Matthew's Gospel where Peter approaches Christ and says, how many times should I forgive my brother who sins against me? 7 times? And Jesus says, no, 70 times 7. By which he didn't mean 290, what is it? 490, I said 290. You're welcome. Right, he didn't mean 490, right? And then after that, no mercy for you. Right, he meant perfection. He meant consistency. If Christ is going to command us to act in that way, then that way will not be inconsistent with the nature of God, who is infinite in all of his attributes. The same God who had mercy on Moses, the murderer, Rahab, the prostitute, David, the adulterer, Paul, the Christian murderer, will have mercy on us also. I'm reminded of the words of Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque's spiritual director. What's his name? Saint Claude de la Colomière. This is what he says. All right, I'm paraphrasing, but it's so beautiful. And if you're just like caught up in porn and sin and crap and no one knows about it, you're totally ashamed and all that, just hear these words. He says, I glorify you, Lord, in making known how good you are towards sinners. and that your mercy prevails over all malice. That no matter how many times or how shamefully or even criminally we fall, a sinner need not be driven to despair of your pardon. It is in vain that your enemy and mine should set new traps for me daily, because he will make me lose everything else but for the hope I have in your mercy. We think of Christ to Faustina in the Divine Mercy Diary. The greater the sinner, the greater right he has to my mercy. Or what about to St. Catherine of Siena in the Dialogue? He says, my mercy is greater than all of the sins that creatures can commit, and therefore it greatly displeases me when they think their sin the greater. Finally, about Thérèse of Lisieux, on her deathbed. They said, well, it's no wonder you're confident. We don't think you've ever committed a mortal sin in your life. And she says, it's not because of my lack of mortal sin that I have confidence. Even if I had committed the most abominable and shameful sins imaginable, I would still be this confident. Why? Because I've seen the way he spoke to Magdalene. I've heard his words to the woman at the well. No, nothing can frighten me. She says, I know that all of that sin, I would take it broken and bruised, and it would be like a drop of water flicked into the raging furnace of his mercy.